Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use, tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, this is from The Underground Bunker. How Scientology created its own prison for children who chafed at lifetime service. By Sunny Beriyar, May 24th, 2019. A Scientology cadet org. We were standing in a room waiting for the cadet coordinator to finish reading our proposal. She was the only adult person assigned to watch over all of the Sea Org cadets in Los Angeles. Cadets were people from age 6 to 15, otherwise known as children, organized into a large group with goals and production targets. We had already signed our billion-year Sea Org contracts, which was required to be part of the cadet org. We all had posts and responsibilities assigned. Around this time period in the mid-1980s, we had approximately 150 cadets. 150 cadets. 150. My job was money collection for services rendered. But this was not why we were meeting. There were four of us cadets there, ages ranging from 6 to 15. I was around 12 years old. The four of us had been tapped on the shoulders to perform a committee of evidence on another cadet. A committee of evidence was supposed to be a fact-finding body to determine the correct course of action from a blunder. Unfortunately for the majority of these, it was more of a witch hunt. And how can we punish this person for what they did? Think of it as a kiddie Scientology court-martial. This cadet was 9 years old. Also, notice the plausible deniability because this is so long ago. Everybody's acting like it's still not going on. Good humor, isn't it? I knew him and had worked with him many times over the years. Let's call him Sam. Sam did not want to be in the cadet org. You know, normal children, that's how it is. And did not want to be in the Sea Org either. It's their intuition telling him what is right. But unfortunately for him, his parents had important posts in the Sea Org. Working in the Office of Special Affairs, OSA, with Scientology's secret police. Oh, a very important job. Yawn. Only the deepest, most dedicated Sea Org members, slaves basically, worked there. And they had to handle attacks on Scientology. So basically it's just a big PR like group, right? Attacks on Scientology all the time. There was no way this child could hinder the very important work of his parents. It was the job of the other cadets, you know, the children, and the cadet coordinator, the only adult, to contain the problems of children. The Sea Org parents had little or no say in the handlings. Listen to this, you guys. Listen closely. Do you see the wording? It's a little bit, what time is it? It's a little too late for me to be raging out. I'm not in the mood. The Sea Org, should I just interject what I think? Okay, I'm gonna read what they put here, and then I'm gonna say what I think. The Sea Org parents had little or no say in the handlings of their own children. No, the parents were inadequate, inept, irresponsible, uncaring of their children. I know it's hard to hear, but that's the truth. Even if they were under mind control. I'm just saying, you guys. What is that old saying? Call a spade a spade? Only what Hubbard wrote in his advices and policies was followed. Parents were out of the picture. Really now. Do tell. Parents were expected to do their own jobs in the Sea Org and not be distracted by their children. It's because they gave their children up. Sam had, over the years, been somewhat willing to work occasionally, and he was put to work in these moments when he was willing to work. It's because they're abusing him, that's why. But those times were becoming more rare. He was upset and fighting being part of the Cadet Org. This is just so sad. It's so sad. In many instances, he had become violent. This is kind of lining up to one ex-Scientologist kid that I've been reading about. But I mean, it could be a lot of them. In many instances, he had become violent. He had been locked in a room several times. Isn't that great, you guys? For many hours. Sometimes because of his violent behavior. It's what happens when kids have no outlet, nobody to care for them, nobody to love them, just being abused 24/7. Police don't care. Parents don't care. Scientology staff don't care. I mean, and if there are a few that care, they do try to do something. I've seen that. It's interesting how they're putting it all on the child here because of his violent behavior. No, what that is, you guys, for adults that don't want to be parents, that's a child acting out. That's a child crying out for help. That's what that is. In case nobody knew, now you know. At first, he had thrown everything he could grab in the room. It came to a head when he threw a chair through a window. This is kind of reminding me of Jenna Miscavige's situation. Please go read her book, Beyond Belief. It's very good. Jenna Miscavige has some great things to share. It always came back to the fact that he simply did not want to be in the Sea Org. So you can't say no. Or the Cadet Org. Basically, he didn't want to be a slave as a child. He wanted to be a kid. But leaving the Sea Org and Cadet Org was impossible. Do tell. Please explain why that is. Because it would also mean losing a Sea Org parent. Possibly even two parents. It was simply not an option for him. Like this kid had options. Isn't that Aleister Crowley Black Magic wonderful? Many Hubbard remedies had been tried, such as having him write down his overts and withholds. That's like writing down sins. Yeah. Having him read various policies from Hubbard, including the Way to Happiness book. He had also been put through training routines, the TRs. That's like, just for anyone who's not familiar with MK Ultra, that's super MK Ultra. They do it in the military, they do it in the police forces, they do it in BOMB squads. I mean, all those militaristic. And because constantly going through those TRs are going to create new neural pathways in your brain so that you're completely programmed. Training routines which were to teach him how to confront things, confront and shatter. Better and learn to not be so reactive or upset. That's really code. Being reactive or upset is just code for obey, code for comply. Go watch the movie They Live, please. Sam had also been made to do lower conditions. Isn't that great? Which is an ethics step that puts a person out of the group until they agree that the group is good and they should only help it. Then performing amends, kind of like I can't think of something to compare that to. You know how like in the Catholic Church, you have to, Father, please forgive me. It's the same kind of idea. To it in order to return to good standing. None of this vast array of handlings that had been done on Sam made a difference. Listen how they try to portray this child. The violent behavior continued. He was crying out for help. Nobody was helping him. Parents weren't helping him. Scientology staff were definitely not helping him. The other kids didn't have the ability to help him. Sickening. And so a committee of evidence was ordered on him. We 4 children were tasked with assigning this child his fate. Can you believe this, you guys? And some of these older Scientologists walking around like they're the victims. They are the ones that allowed this repugnant, disgusting, filthy, abhorrent things to happen to these children. As children ourselves, we were limited in our understanding of how to deal with a child with these reactions. We knew he did not belong there. Sam had made that very clear so many times. Sam had already been through all of the Hubbard handlings that we were familiar with. And yet here we are, with a boy who could not and would not conform. Sounding like Nathan Rich. I don't know if it's him, but it sounds very much like what he's explained in his book. He would not change. He would not become cooperative. Imagine the LAPD put a gold stamp on this. Isn't that great? So what did Hubbard say about a person who did not show any change despite all our best efforts to help the person with Hubbard technology? It meant this person was a no-gain case. This was a bottom-of-the-barrel, last-ditch label for someone who we had no hope of ever helping. No Hubbard technology worked on him. And us as children never even conceived that maybe something outside of Hubbard's technology might help this child. Well, yeah, and that's because they isolate everyone. It's how this mind control works. A no-gain case was synonymous with suppressive person. From our understanding of Hubbard's policy, Sam was a suppressive person, and the only thing we could do to help him was to label him as such. He had to leave the Cadet Org and the Sea Org because nothing in Scientology could help him until he properly repented with the steps to return from a suppressive person declare. There was no doubt that Sam should be SP declared, but here we are in the cadet coordinator's office where she was telling us that we cannot SP declare Sam because his parents would have to leave the Sea Org with him. And that was absolutely out of the question. You see how there's no care for this child? So we were stuck trying to figure out what to do with the child. You see this, you guys? All these adults whining and crying. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of these older Scientologists whining and baby, boo-hooing about how they were so abused. They were so abused, yet they abdicated all of their duties to children. It's beyond me. We were stuck trying to figure out what to do with a child who did not want to be part of the group and had become violent to be around. See how, even in their minds, I mean, granted, he probably was doing violent acts, but it's like the way they present the whole problem. And I'm sure he's trying to remember as a child what his thoughts were, but he did not want to be part of the group and had become violent to be around. Nothing in Hubbard's policies was giving us direction on how to help us determine a direction with this child. See, the parents should have stepped in, except to SP declare him, and we were not being approved for that option. Let's open up the children's RPF and send him to it, was her request. You guys don't even know how much money I would give to know who did that. I mean, it's just truly unfathomable. And that was what we did. The Rehabilitation Project Force was something Hubbard had come up with in 1974. And it was essentially a prison group, a prison program for adults. But now we would create a child version of the RPF to house Sam. His punishment was that he would now no longer be allowed to talk to anyone at all. This makes me want to cry. This child needed help. He needed love. He needed nurturing. And he didn't get any of it. So what do? They put him in a child prison that the LAPD has given their rubber stamp of approval of. Hemet police have given their rubber stamp of approval. It appears that FBI is just fine with it. Homeland Security, fine with child prisons. Isn't that one song, God Bless America? Or no, My Country 'Tis of Thee, Sweet Land of Liberty? Huh. It's not looking like it, is it? A lot of us really in the know what's going on. I know. I would never say I can't talk about it, but I'm just not going to. I am not going to try to teach people about something that they are not wanting to learn about. His punishment was that he would now no longer be allowed to talk to anyone at all. He would not be, so kind of is similar to solitary confinement. He would not be allowed to eat meals with friends. He would not be allowed any time off. He was expected to work cleaning all day, every day, until he changed and repented. This is meant to break him. All kind of mind control programs, that's what they do. Military does it all the time. I'm pretty much beginning to see a lot of, what do you call that? Corporations do the same thing. Companies, employers. He was also not allowed to see his parents. See, there's where the wording's all screwed up. My family definitely wasn't perfect at all. But I wish somebody would have told my mother she can't see me, or my brother, or my sisters. Jail time, man. Totally. I remember that he spent several months doing this, with much protest and fighting, which only extended his time. When I was also added to the Children's RPF for my own prison sentence in the organization that I had helped create, at least now he had someone to talk to. Sonny Berida. I don't know how to say his name. Berida. Okay, guys, I will leave the link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.